Hey everybody, welcome back to Rowe Country. Today we're taking this sign that I picked up for $1.59 at Hobby Lobby, and we're going to redo a sign so that I can hang it over this cute little piece. That's right, it's a Trash to Treasure Modern Farmhouse sign DIY. It's a Beginner Cricut Project, and guys, guess what? There is even a PDF in the description box below. If you don't have a Cricut, check that out. So thanks so much for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. Okay guys, so like I said, I picked up this sign for $1.59. It was 90% off at the Hobby Lobby clearance. I don't have a before picture, but it said Beach House on it. The frame was already in this cool black tone. However, the sign itself was white and it said Beach House in black. That was not going to work at all with the decor that I'm going for. So what I did was I asked my son to please go out and actually paint this. I wanted to cover it in white chalked spray paint, but he heard chalk paint and he actually took black matte chalk paint in a can and spray painted this piece for me. And that's a happy accident because I actually love it way better. It looks very modern to me in this way. So that background is chalkboard. If I really wanted to, I could use chalk and use this as a chalkboard, but I'm not going to do that. Like I said, today I am taking this sign and redoing it for a specific part of my home. There is a project series that is coming up, and actually this is the beginning of that. I have a very small space at the top of my staircase that I am redoing, and today's project is the beginnings of that whole thing. So stay tuned to see how this sign turns out. Just so you know, mine is 18.5 long by 5.5 wide. The PDF that you will have access to, it's linked in the description box below, guys, and you're going to want to modify that, make it larger or smaller for any sign that you may be wanting to do. I used Dominique and Harlea, which are two free fonts from dafont.com for my sign, and those will also be linked. They are free for download for personal use. Okay, so if you don't know much about me, then you don't know that I really love play on words. And I am the type of person who has a very dry sense of humor. My youngest son is very much like me, and when we get together, it's a lot of back and forth and a lot of giggling. So this sign says, "Hey, it's past your bedtime." And I thought that would be so appropriate to go over top of a picture of two cows. I just think it's so cute. Also, if you know anything about me, I have an affinity for cows. I love them so much. So I wanted to do a play on words for a sign to go over those cows when I hang that picture up above my staircase. Okay guys, so what you see here is I ended up cutting the sign into pieces, and I did that because one, I am a new Cricketer, so this is a beginner project. Two, I do not have a longer mat that would allow me to cut 18.5 inches across to put this sign together all in one fell swoop. So I cut it out and then I trimmed it so that I could take 3 pieces and start to apply it to the sign. So what I'm going to use is my very favorite transfer tape. It's actually by Duck Brand. It is clear contact paper that I find at Walmart, wherever they have the shelf liner. And I get this for about $5 or something a roll. And anytime I'm putting any vinyl onto a fairly freshly painted surface, I take that piece of clear transfer tape and I put it over my skin. What that does is it picks up the oils on my skin, which is, ew, kind of gross, right? But it leaves it sticky enough so that it will still pick up the vinyl that I need to transfer onto my painted piece. But when I remove this top coat from the vinyl itself, after I've applied it to the painted piece, it does not pull up the paint off of the freshly painted piece. So that's why I do that. Now I have this little tool that I got with Cricut. You can definitely use a credit card to do this very same thing, but they call this burnishing. And what I've done is I've taken that Duck brand clear contact paper and I've laid it on top of the vinyl that I'm going to transfer onto my painted piece or my sign, and I'm burnishing it. So I'm actually pushing and giving a little pressure to that so that when I peel that off the backing, I get the vinyl that I can now put onto my sign. I just recommend that if you're new to this, that you just take your time. Don't stress out about it. I promise you, it's actually a little bit easier than it looks. And so guys, even with the limitation that Design Space gives me, meaning that I can't just cut out an 18.5-inch long sign and then put it down in one piece, I'm actually kind of glad that I can't do that, because as a beginner, I just feel like that would be a lot of vinyl to try to work with. So what I'm doing with the middle piece, this is the middle part of the sign, is I'm kind of folding it but not creasing it. And I'm taking the first letter of the word pasture and lining it up with the last letter of the word pasture to find the center of this little part of this decal. Now, being that it's 18.5 inches, I figured, you know, I would go for 9. And so that's what I'm doing. I laid down my ruler and I tried to find 9 in the center of my sign. You could definitely take like a piece of chalk or something to mark your frame to find your center and have something visual to look at. I was just sort of going back and forth. I opted not to do that, sort of trying to eyeball it, and I think it turns out totally fine. The thing about this, and the trick is, when you lay this down on your piece before you start to burnish it back down, I recommend that you lay it down, and anything that you're trying to tack to the sign to keep it in place, make that the transfer tape. Don't push down on your decal. And then when you have it in place, you can go ahead and start to burnish it onto the piece, which again, you just take this little tool or a credit card and you want to scrape over top of the vinyl that you're putting down. What you don't want to do is scrape all of it. You don't want to scrape where there's no vinyl that's going to be left behind when you're done. That just really ensures that you won't have any paint come up off of your piece when you do that. So just take your time and go around each letter, and then the trick to get the top piece or the transfer tape off of your vinyl is to roll it back on itself. You can use your burnishing tool to start. You can also use it to sort of make sure that any thin pieces of vinyl stay in place. And all that is really is just layering the transfer tape over top of the burnishing tool and then using the burnishing tool as you come back away from the vinyl. You do not want to pick up the transfer tape off of the vinyl. You really want to roll it off the piece so that it comes away nice and clean like that. So that's what the center of our sign is looking like right now. And so just for placement, now I do have those other two parts of the sign, hey with the exclamation point and bedtime. And I decided when I did the sign itself, I wanted to stack bedtime in that manner so that it would be about the same height as the word hey. I've never been successful at taking two different types of fonts and putting them together. I wish I could give you a magic tool to use to do that. I wish I had one, but I really got lucky with these two fonts, this Dominique and Harlea. I just love it. I love how the fonts play off of each other. So I'm just going to go ahead and apply bedtime in the same manner that I did pasture. Just sort of eyeballing it to make sure that it's not too close to the edge of this sign, but so that there's good spacing between its pasture and bedtime. And I think that turns out really well. And I use the very same technique. I put that down, tried to eyeball it and make sure that it wasn't crooked when I put it down. Now I am still using this very first piece of transfer tape that I used when I started putting the sign together. And that's another tip about that Duck brand clear contact paper. It will give you 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 applications without having to get a new piece. So it really does go a long, long way, and it's very paint surface friendly as far as I'm concerned. So I just trimmed away a little bit of that contact paper so that when I put down the word hey, it's not interfering with my spacing. And I did find that I had about 1.5 inches in between its pasture and bedtime at the bottom of the sign. That's sort of where my line up is going to be, if you will. So I'm trying to make sure that my bottom of time and the bottom of hey with the exclamation point is lined up exactly the same. The word pasture being in that scripty font, it gives it a little more give, if you will. You know, you don't want to really try to line up with the bottom of the S. It's totally fine. I just love the way that that looks. So I go ahead and I line up the bottom of my ruler with the bottom of the word time. And then I sort of scoot everything over so that I get just about 1.5 inches between the exclamation point and the P on pasture, so that it matches up on the other side where there's a 1.5 inch gap between the E in pasture and the T in time. And so that's how I end up with my spacing on this sign. And oh my gosh, guys, I mean, patting myself on the back here in a moment because I would have paid good money for someone to make a sign like this for me. This has been in my mind for several months. Let's call it 1.5 years, okay? Because I have been struggling with how I wanted to decorate the top of my staircase. We just recently painted up there, and I sort of knew what I wanted to do, and then I hit up Hobby Lobby for their sale, and I picked up that picture of the 2 cows, and it just sort of all finally came together. Okay guys, but what I need is some help from you down below in the comments. Let me know, do you think I should go ahead and with my Cricut cut out some cowhide design in white to randomly place around the sign? I was thinking having it come down around the it's in pasture, and then on the sides of the frame and maybe down at the bottom, maybe take it over the frame and then have it sort of flow into the sign itself. I'm really just not sure if that would be too much. I do like how this came out sort of in a modern farmhouse look. I really love the play on words, and I giggle every time I see it, but I'm just so happy with how this has turned out. And I really hope that you guys liked it too. So let me know in the comments down below what you think. Listen, if you're new here, go ahead and hit subscribe and become a member of the Rowe Country family here on YouTube. I'd love to have you. To my returning subscribers, thank you guys so much again for stopping in and checking out another one of my videos. And hey, until next time, take care. Bye.